Hi, it's Nathan here, and today we're talking about the hierarchy of controls. So it is a fancy word, and there's some fancy types of controls in the hierarchy, but the overall process is fairly simple. So controls, when they say controls, they're referring to safety controls. Safety controls are things that we do to protect ourselves, and then what they do is they categorize these controls into different ways that we can protect ourselves. For example, PPE, personal protective equipment, is one way that we can protect ourselves. Administrative controls, so things like training, awareness, policies and procedures, are another way that we can protect ourselves. So, and then it's a hierarchy. So they score these things in order of most effective to least effective. So that's where you get hierarchy of controls from. So it goes elimination, substitution, isolation, engineering, administration, and then PPE. They used to sort of score them in that order to say that each of those were more effective than the one below it. But now they updated the how to manage WHS risks code, and now they have elimination is level 1, so it's at the top, and then substitution, isolation, and engineering are number 2, so they're all essentially equally effective, and then administration and PPE are together on the bottom level as least effective, or the last line of defense. So to give you an example, elimination is the most effective because you're getting rid of the hazard altogether. So for example, if there's a cord running along the ground that we could trip over, get rid of the cord. We can't trip anymore. That's the gold standard for safety. The hazard is completely gone. Substitution is basically trying to find a safer way to do the task, or a safer method. So for example, if we have a really nasty cleaning chemical that's really hazardous, we could find a cleaning chemical that's not as nasty. We've now substituted the work method for a safer work method. Isolation is putting something physically between us and the hazard. It could be a barrier, it could be distance, could be locking out the machine to isolate us from the energy source. Engineering controls, generally things that are engineered or built to be safer, so things like guarding on machinery, presence sensing systems, dead man switches. Administration, the trick to remember there is admin, which is basically paperwork, so policies, procedures, training, scheduling, all that sort of stuff. The reason administration is so low, it's a core part of many safety systems, a vital part, but because it is so low, because it kind of relies on people to do the right thing. And then last line of defense is PPE. The reason it's so low is typically PPE isn't going to stop an incident from happening, or it's not going to get rid of the hazard at all. It's just going to protect you if something bad does happen. So like a seatbelt isn't going to stop a car accident from happening, but or a seatbelt isn't going to stop a forklift from tipping over, but it should keep you in the seat. You know what? That's a bad example. That's probably an engineering control, kind of PPE. Let's say safety glasses. Safety glasses as PPE. If you're grinding and the grinding disc explodes, the safety glasses aren't going to get rid of the hazard, but they'll, hopefully save your eyes. You still may end up in hospital getting some stitches, but hopefully they'll protect your eyes. Another important thing to remember is there's overlap with these as well. So an isolation control like a handrail has also been engineered and designed. So this kind of controls could be engineering and isolation together. So yeah, hope that helps, and see you next time. One last thing on the hierarchy of controls. If you need to remember it as part of your job, or if you're doing a high-risk work license assessment, you actually have to remember them all to pass the test. There is a jingle you can remember, and it's every Sunday I eat a pie. So that gives you the first letter for each word. There is a rude one. I'm not going to say it, but if there's any guys out there that are really struggling to remember it, you tell them the rude one and they remember it first go, and they'll never forget, and they'll smash that question on the high risk work license assessment. So yeah, hope that helps.